Okay, so wow, huge crowd. Thank you all for making a huge effort today. So we're going to talk to you about augmenting creativity, how AI and humans can get along. And it's really about hopefully giving you something you can take away about how you might apply artificial intelligence to creative projects. So I'm a creative person, not a tech person, so where do I start when I need to find out about artificial intelligence? Well, I'm just going to Google it. And when you Google what is AI, the most revealing thing is not the general search results, but the image search results. So nothing reveals that we don't quite know what AI is than some really, really bad stock library images of like whizzing neurons and circuits. And people have a real trouble grasping what it is. We're hugely excited about its potential, but we're not quite sure what it's going to do. So basic lesson first, two types. There's general AI, so that's machine intelligence, which can do absolutely anything we can do from an intellectual point of view. That's the stuff popularized by science fiction, that is always going to take over the world, destroy us, steal our dates, that kind of thing. That's not here yet. That's hopefully a long way off. But narrow AI is already here. So narrow AI is about narrow tasks, so set specific tasks or combinations of tasks that let AI do really complicated things. So they might be the AI we find in our smartphones. They might be the AI that can beat the world's top chess players or AlphaGo players. They might be the combinations of AI systems that drive driverless cars. So, huge amount of enthusiasm for AI and what it can do. This is perhaps my favorite bit of hyperbole for it. This is Jeff Bezos.
It is a renaissance. It is a golden age. We are now solving problems with machine learning and artificial intelligence that were, kind of in the realm of science fiction for the last several decades. Machine learning and AI is a horizontal enabling layer. It will empower and improve every business, every government organization, every philanthropy, basically there's no institution in the world that cannot be improved with machine learning.
So no institution in the world that cannot be improved by machine learning. So certainly for Jeff and a few other people like Elon Musk, that AI is going to radically transform every single organization throughout the world. But that still doesn't necessarily get us closer to a better understanding of what it can do and why now. So two important aspects of AI: really, really powerful computing, as in really good hardware, that's important, but also better software, more sophisticated maths, really advanced algorithms. But the thing that makes it super relevant and powerful and accelerating right now is this third element, which is data, an absolutely ridiculous amount of data. So this data is coming from us. We are generating this data because we've got these smart devices in our pockets. We are continually feeding them in data. We are continually uploading data into the space which AI can use. So the number here is 2.5 quintillion bytes of data created every day. I don't know what a quintillion is, but a more kind of human estimation here. So just the video on YouTube, that's 300 hours of video uploaded to YouTube every single minute. So we are continually contributing through like the GPS on our phones, passively all the time, all this data that AI can work with. What can it actually do? So a good way to think about this is the three A's. So let's start with automation. So automation is driverless cars is a really good example. There's a futuristic truck image there, but it's also been around for much longer than that.
Actually, a very interesting thing is, at this moment, people want to be approached and get asked about, should we use AI against any of your digital properties? Do you want us to use AI? The reality is no one approached us and asked us if we wanted AI to be used against our credit cards or our bank accounts. And the reality is it's been used against our credit cards and bank accounts for many, many years. Actually, still in 1996, the person that now runs everything that has to do with AI for Facebook used to be the one that was creating all of these algorithms for banks. And banks were simply buying it without asking our permission. But the interesting thing, and I imagine when I tell this, people are going to be happy that that happened. the reality, that is the thing that detects all of the frauds and all of the transactions and makes sure that our money is secure. So that can explain how different it can be. The same algorithm can be looking after a bank account, but also the same thing that Simon mentioned, it can be helping to drive a car.
So another one, articulation. Articulation is basically humans interacting with machines. It's the sort of software link between the two. So most popularly, speech recognition through like Amazon Alexa, for example, or Siri, but also image recognition, that kind of thing. Which very, very simple from our point of view. We speak or we show an image, but very, very complicated from a machine's point of view. And finally, amplification. So amplification is the really, really exciting one in terms of creative possibilities. A good way of thinking about this is bespoke services, things that only one human could do for another. Like if I'm recommending a film to Miguel, I go, I know he really likes thrillers. I know he likes Latin American movies. I'm gonna tell him an amazing recommendation of what he likes. But Netflix is doing that very service hundreds of thousands of times a day. So amplification lets you do bespoke personal services at scale.
So a little bit of machine learning, and what easier way to talk about this than to get a little bit in the math, and early in the morning we all want to learn a little bit of math, I'm pretty sure we would. So one of the interesting thing is the way machines were built on top of ones and zeros, so yes and no. Machine learning is just a layer that can manage uncertainty, so it can start to manage a little bit of the maybes. The interesting thing is the math that actually make machine learning real have been around for ages, but they were theories and they could not be proven because there was not enough power in computing to actually prove that. But the easiest way to exemplify why lots of power in computer is needed to make this machine learning work is due to the following reasons. So one analogy that we can use for machine learning is if I give each of you puzzle, a 10,000 piece puzzle, I turned the lights off and I gave you each 3 hours to solve it with the lights off, you're gonna try over and over and over and over again, and you might be able to solve it in a lifetime. So the reality is those maths are that complicated that the machine has to do so many cycles to be able to get it right. Now with the enough power, you can actually get to solve a very complicated machine equation and get the machine learning right in hours. Before, like in the time when I started working with it, you actually let a machine running sometimes for even 3 weeks just to be able to get a piece of it working.
So what is AI going to do for us?
So one of the interesting
Doing your intros.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the interesting thing of what is actually AI going to do for us is when you start to ask people about it, most of the people is going to be like, oh yeah, it's going to be more efficient, or it's going to reduce costs. So let's continue doing exactly what we're doing. Let's do it more efficiently and let's do it faster, or let's remove some people that are doing certain type of jobs. But the reality, one of the biggest things where we see changes and the most impactful ones is when it actually does creativity. So doing things that could not be done before is actually where we've seen one of the biggest impacts, but it is not easy to think of new things to do. The easiest way to actually think about things is let's just take what we do today and let's do it faster. So should we care about it? One of the latest reports from Gartner showed that actually 50% of brands are actually trying to build AI solutions. So I know we don't have a lot of people in the crowd, but can we raise our hand to see who is currently working on a project that involves AI? 2, 3 hands up. So this is where it actually gets fun. So 50% are trying it, only actually 4% have been able to do it. So that's how complicated it is. Even though, as you saw from Jeff Bezos, he says it's gonna be everywhere, the hype, the investment in money, trillions, 50% are trying and only 4% are getting it right. So we actually, I think it's either the luxury or something like that. Simon and I had the luck of to working around 10 projects that actually have seen the light of day, where at the heart of the project, they have AI. So we started to get asked, how did you get it right? There's a part of us that believes it's luck, and there's the other part that we're trying to explain why we believe we actually got it right.
So a couple of things we've done. First of all, Nor Eat Your Feed. So Nor Eat Your Feed is a very, very simple proposition. Basically, it's about, it scans your Instagram feed, then gives you recipe recommendations that kind of echo the nostalgia from your Instagram feed, are relevant, the meals are relevant to the photographs in your Instagram feed. Now, that's a really sort of simple idea, but an incredibly complex thing from an AI point of view. It's having to analyze the images in the feed, work out what they are. It's reading the tags. It's trying to assemble a meaningful result and recommendation for you. So really complex behind the scenes. Second one was Marmite Taste Face. Marmite, everyone loves or hates Marmite, as the popular advertising slogan goes. Marmite Taste Face lets Marmite lovers or haters work out exactly how much they love or hate it, with using Microsoft's Emotion API to analyze emotion in the face and give them a report back and a little GIF people can share so they can proudly say how much of a lover or a hater they are. Like, it's a really, really popular project. Now, the interesting thing about these projects is that they are not, on the face of it, AI experiences for a consumer. They are just fun brand experiences that give something meaningful, give something entertaining back. The AI side's all hidden. Most of the commercial creativity AI projects are about AI. Hawaii Way did an interesting thing really recently on the South Bank with a big Rubik's Cube that was solved by the AI on a smartphone. ING Bank a couple of years ago did a thing where they created a new Rembrandt painting using artificial intelligence. Now, that's really, really exciting. But they are about artificial intelligence. And they're only half of the possibilities. If your brief isn't about how do we show artificial intelligence is awesome, how are you going to use AI? Well, that's a really tricky question. It's going to be different and amazing every time, but also really, really hard every time. So Miguel will give you an explanation of why it's so difficult, but our approach with AI, about how we might use it to solve some interesting problems, is we start with a no, which is completely against the normal way that people tell you to approach creative projects, where you say, yeah, just find a way, we'll do it, we'll somehow achieve it. With AI, you've got to start with no way, this is not going to work, and then maybe edge it on to a maybe.
Yeah. And one of the reasons we actually start with a no is because we have to acknowledge that it can only go two ways. It actually either goes great at scale or it can go wrong at scale. So here it's evidently racist. So there's one of the theories we always have, that many times AI just gets created and it gets tested with white male, and they test it over again, and they look around to the people surrounding them and they're like, oh yeah, we all look the same, so let's test it with our colleagues. But when it goes live, awful things like that can happen, or things like that where it's evidently there why it went wrong. So when we were doing Taste Face, because we started with a no and made it a maybe, it forces us into acknowledging that it could actually be racist, and it could make a brand that we care about be racist to the public. So I even remember myself when I had to approach, when we were doing the test, so our direct boss, Ete, and I had to approach him, and honestly I had to approach him because he's black and dark skinned, and I had to tell him, hey Ete, can you help us test this project because you're black? That is the reality of how bad it can go and how difficult things you have to acknowledge to actually make it work and make sure that it doesn't go wrong at scale. And by doing that, then what we could have is it can actually go great at scale. So believe it or not, Taste Face, Marmite, the project that we did during London Tech Week, in the main stage, that was the stage for artificial intelligence, where you actually had to pay extra money to get in, and you had all of the IBMs, Microsoft, Amazon, and all of them showcasing the best AI algorithms. The busiest stand of all was the stand that had Taste Face and Marmite, where people could try it, because it was the most human one, because it was the one that actually could connect best with the public. And the other thing, believe it or not, the reason why Microsoft liked very much this project was because it's the one that actually pushed their algorithms to the limit. So things like Uber have used facial recognition, but they only have to do one check. Something like Taste Face, because trying to determine love and hate, is actually using facial recognition during a long period of time to come back with a thing that people can believe on. And that has proven to be very complex to do, but actually it was worth it, and it was worth it because the maybe never became a yes. It always stayed a maybe. We were always nervous that it could go wrong.
So another aspect to consider with AI is how it fits into culture. Now, as it gets more and more sophisticated and creates more human-like experience, that actually creates more problems rather than less. So there's a really, really good model for how this happens. There's a theory called a model called the Uncanny Valley, created by a Japanese roboticist in the 1970s. And it was thought about 4 robots. So as robots get more human-like, the emotional response you get from them becomes more and more positive. But you can also apply this to kind of any AI experience, particularly things like chatbots that are interacting directly with humans. So if you think about as things get more and more human, that you start to generate a bit of an emotional response for it. So they get kind of the little Lego character that's more kind of emotional than the little pixel character. And then we get to a kind of like this kind of wide-eyed manga-esque figure, which is definitely not human, but has a really kind of endearing, charming, emotional quality. And then right at the sort of top end of that, you've got like the real human, and that's the one that generates the most emotional response. But just before you get to the real human, you've got the Uncanny Valley, which is this kind of almost human quality. Poor Princess Leia in Rogue One, in a kind of almost perfect CGI render. It's just really, really creepy and weird. So you can apply this model to it's kind of AI experiences when you're interacting with humans, particularly things that are with voice and chat. And AI pretending to be humans is particularly unsettling for people. So if you can get beyond that, the other big thing you need to get beyond, as Miguel said earlier on, people are looking for AI to do things like efficiency and doing things quicker and faster. And that's the old Henry Ford cliche, right? That if you asked people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. You need to get beyond that to think of, what can AI do that would be amazing, would be genuinely creative and exciting. So what model can we give you to take away, to apply to your own creative projects? So this is a good way of thinking about it. So first of all, find a problem worth solving. I mean, that's the straightforward task of any creative brief, I would suggest. But the difference to the AI is maybe find an impossible problem to solve. Find something that's really, really difficult to solve. So, for example, Miguel, the taste phase work we did, Miguel was then asked at a conference, we manufacture toothpaste, so we want to teach children to brush their teeth better. Could AI do that with like facial recognition? Well, yeah, well, maybe it could. Maybe facial recognition could do that, but maybe that's not the right question. Maybe the question is just how can we help kids to brush their teeth properly? And if you don't start with the tech, don't start with the type of technology you think you're going to use, start with the human problem. And also start with, if your approach is, how would we solve this problem if we had impossible resources? If we had like just infinite human resources? So you might say, for example, what we're going to do, we're going to get a dental nurse, and they're going to travel to every family home in the UK, and they're going to do 2 lessons, going to teach kids how to brush their teeth, and then they're going to come back a month later and just check in with them, see how they're getting on. There's no way that this brand can do that. They haven't got infinite dental nurses to distribute around the UK. But if that's the problem, then you've identified, like, well, if we could send a nurse to every single home, that's the problem you can solve with AI. Maybe that's the thing that you throw AI at. So the thing we'd like you to take away from here is to go and find an impossible problem. And that's the thing that AI can probably help you solve in your brief. Thank you. Has anyone got any questions they'd like to ask? Thank you for being a lovely but tiny audience.